Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 8th Lord through houses. During this special time period of Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde and Jupiter retrograde, although Jupiter is going to be going direct soon. So yeah, a lot of mistakes were made trying to film this video. I'm sure you saw my posts and all that. So 8th house. Let's talk about 8th house. Nothing to be scared of, okay? Nothing to be scared of, because it's not because I'm actually trying to sugarcoat this. I will give you my own example, okay? Until my 8th house period started, life was just flat. Like you were hoping, right? Like especially before even majority of the social media took off. You used to be like, oh my God, I wish I could be in this place and this celebrity. Now it's that celebrity. I could be this thing. And nothing, right? Back then, celebrity meant something important. Now it's just nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Okay, we pretty much witnessed that in the elections as well. They have no power. Being a celebrity word is like just a nuisance. But, it's that 8th house that changes things for you. You know, when people say, when will my life will take off? When will this happen, that happen? You have to have this earthquake come in your life. You have to have this shaking of your bridge. You got to have a tornado come, which changes everything. It'll clean something off completely, and then new things are built on it. This is what the power of the 8th house is. You want to embrace the 8th house. It is that moment, when you go into the tunnel, it's dark. Okay, but until you cross the tunnel in that train, you can get to that big main city where your job opportunity is waiting. And remember, 8th house usually is known as a house of hidden things and secrecy, but that doesn't mean this house is dark. Difference. We can make 3rd house or let's just say we can make 10th house the house of secrecy and hidden knowledge and tantra. Does that mean 10th house is like a dark house? No. Because if you even look at it astronomically, sun doesn't even set in the 8th house. That's the period 2 hours before the sunset. Like pretty much right now, the sun is setting early, like literally around 4 p.m. would be that sun's position in the 8th house. So it's not dark house. It's just its significance shows secrecy, something hidden, something unknown. But it's not dark. It's just unknown. Okay? And this is why we are always afraid of that, because we don't know what is the unknown. But until you go through this unknown, you cannot find that change in your life. 8th house is also represents the gain of marriage. So 7th house, you got married, right? All your ceremony happened, everything, all the guests went home. Now what? Now what is the 8th house? What is going to be experienced in the 8th house? So 8th house represents the married life. Your interaction with the family of the spouse's family. Right after marriage, you're going to go to their home, interact. You'll have new friends, cousins, in-law siblings. And within 4 or 5 years, it just becomes like a family. Okay. And then 8th house also represents the treasury of the government. 8th house is taxes. Because 8th house is 11th from the 10th house. Okay. I mean, we can keep going on and on. 8th house will represent the blessings of your guru. Why? Because the feet of the guru is the 8th house. And touching the feet of the guru, you get the blessings. This is why 8th house is the most important house. See, you don't go to a guru, especially in our Hindu culture, and go to a guru like, hey, what's up, man? Thank you, bless me. No, it's not that. The first thing you do when you see a guru, you bow and you touch their feet. What are you touching? You're touching the 8th house. And when you go down, when your body has to bend over and down, that's where that blessings come in. 8th house is blessings. Okay, so I always tell people whenever they get like some dasha reading, something. Oh my God, my 8th house dasha is coming. What's going to happen? I'm like, whatever you were dreaming to happen can happen. Okay? As long as you're aligned with it. So that's the 8th house. And one thing I'll tell you with if 8th Lord is in the 8th house. Okay? And before even we go there, if you need to know where your 8th Lord is placed, just go to chaosastrology.com on shop section. And you'll see option 6 with astrology PDF report and everything else, which is a reading. You'll get the report and you'll see where your 8th Lord is placed. And of course, I've uploaded December horoscope on my academy. Now I'm going to be uploading the 2025 horoscope for each ascendant on Karis vlogs as well. And of course, my wristwatch reading is now active, which I know I never announced it because it was the course. But yes, I have wristwatch reading itself. But anyway, you want to know what 8th Lord in the 8th house does? Instead of even going over every planet. 90% you'll feel like you're about to hit the ground while going from the top. Okay? Like the roller coaster going down, 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 down. You're like, wait a second, why does this keep going down? It's not going up. But the last 10%, it suddenly reverses and goes up. So whenever planet's in the 8th house, whatever you go through troubles, you go through these issues because you weren't aware of it. Remember, 8th house is that unknown house. You're not experienced in the 8th house. So if you're not experienced in the 8th house, it feels scary. Oh my God, what is the situation that just came up? Oh my God, my boyfriend broke up with me. And now you're experiencing those feelings that you saw in the movies, you saw in the shows, you saw with the friends, but you just never knew what it felt. Now you're feeling that. It is showing that. But the last 10%, you will always see planets in the 8th house always get saved. They get saved. Especially you will see whenever Jupiter, Venus are in the 8th house or in the 6th house. Person goes near that point of hitting the ground from the top floor and boom, suddenly reverses itself. But 8th Lord in the 8th house says, listen, I've got a cushion here. You're jumping, right? Guess what? Fine, it's a 200 feet jump. I got the biggest cushion in the world. You won't even feel it. So that's what happens with the 8th house. And 8th Lord in the 8th house, people become over time instead of like a mud, that block of mud forms into a rock. Meaning you can't make these people go into fear. After a certain while, like you keep scaring your younger sibling. Don't go there, there's a ghost in there. Don't go there. And then one day, when they're like, what? Okay, fine, I'm just going to go there. Forget about going there, I'll sleep there tonight. And after that, your big brother was just like, all right, yeah, there's nothing there. I was just kidding. And now they don't have anything else to scare you with. That's what 8th Lord in the 8th house will do. Now, the other thing, of course, is going to be 8th Lord through houses. So let's see what 8th Lord in the 9th house does. So now 8th Lord is going into the 9th house. Okay. So that means especially you will see father's life is an adventure. You know why? What is adventure? Adventure is something where you are going into an unknown. You're going to an unknown place. And you don't know what you're going to discover, what you're going to see, who you're going to meet. How the weather's going to be. How the people, the food is going to be. So what happens with 8th Lord in the 9th house? Father experiences surprises in life. Father experiences new things. And naturally, father would, because of your chart, father has this layer on himself of an onion that adds on after your birth that, hey, I want to experience unknown things. Whether they're naturally happening to him. Suddenly this happened, suddenly that happened, or suddenly father like, you know what? I want to finally go to Europe. I've never been to Europe. I'm going to go to Italy. Okay, now after that, they get their travel bug. Okay, now I'm going to go to, France. And now I'm going to go see Swiss Alps. And especially because 8th Lord goes into the 9th house, it actually shows that one, will suddenly meet their guru, suddenly meets their teacher. And this is where that placement comes in, where you meet the guru unexpectedly. When all hope has failed, when you were searching for a guru, and you're just like, that's it. You came back from Rishikesh, you came back from your Himalayan trip because you wanted to escape home, and you're like, there's nobody here. And you're working, coming back to the main city. 2 years, you're just in your regular life, and boom, suddenly, now the guru comes in. The entrance of the guru, because see, 12th Lord is in the 9th house. The entrance of a guru is happening suddenly in your life. The wisdom in your life happens suddenly. And usually you will see such people, your luck in life, you would have noticed somehow always begin after some sudden event happened, or passing away of somebody within the family. When they passed away, whether it's grandfather, grandmother, somebody passed away. But that passing suddenly changes your luck. For the better or worse, we don't know, but what is the 8th Lord in the 9th house doing? Okay, that's so it naturally does that. Also, always when 8th Lord is in the 9th house, even, and I don't care, your parents do not have to be rich at all. They can be even lower middle class. Just tell your parents, leave me some money in inheritance. Let's say, for example, in US dollars, $100 will be what, equal to 3,000 rupees. Just tell them, leave me 3,000 rupees as my inheritance, but I can only get it after you guys have passed. Or you give me the inheritance at a certain point, but you legalize it as an inheritance from a lawyer, that my child should get this 3,000, 6,000, 10,000, whatever. Let's say maybe they're like, okay, fine, we'll leave you 1,000. And you'll get this in 2 years. Okay, it needs to be 8 months minimum. After 8 months, say, give my son or daughter this 10,000 rupees check. What happens is this: when the 8th Lord is in the 9th house and you receive any inheritance, whether the parents are alive or not, luck becomes active. 9th house becomes active. That's what happens. Also, this is one of those placement. Children will become activists. Children become activists at some point in their life, and children naturally with 8th Lord in the 9th house will find much happiness in education. They love studying. They love to learn things. They love to absorb things. They may not have a degree, but they will be very book smart. They would want to learn something, or book smart, or like even street smart. Then you have 8th Lord in the 10th house. So 8th Lord is in the 10th house. This is going to be a place of adventure for an individual. Your work environment, the more stable it is, the more steady it is, the worst your career environment will be. Do not ever look for a stable, long-term desk job career with this placement, except a few places where your work, which is steady, has something to do with dealing with research, insurance, investigation, and protection. That's it. Otherwise, if you have 8th Lord in the 10th house, okay, and you are looking for a normal marketing management job, you are going to get so frustrated because you cannot seem to find yourself sticking to one particular place, or the place that you go to just lets you go because you get fired. Because 8th Lord is saying, I have to feed myself in the 10th house. That means I need to have adventure in the 10th house. Adventure is something that you don't know. where you're going, what you're doing, who you're meeting, what you're going to be eating, where you're going to be sleeping. It's an adventure, right? The people who are explorers were adventurers. That means your career needs to be full of changes. Like, for example, if 8th Lord is in the 10th house and you work in investment banking, you'll be extremely successful. Why? Because your career, your work deals with nothing but the ups and downs of markets. You're an occultist. This is a great placement, 8th Lord in the 10th house. You're dealing with mortuary work with other planets. Great. But it's not even career. 8th Lord in the 10th house doesn't say this is going to be your career. It says whatever your career is, it better change constantly. It better have something new constantly. It better have these elements of the 8th house. Otherwise, you will just be frustrated. And this is why you see that 8th Lord in the 10th house, such people do very well working on contract basis. Like one of my uncles has always worked on contract basis. 2 years contract with this company, 3 years with this company, 4 years with the company, and he has spent almost, my God, 50 years, 45 years to 50 years, okay, as a successful engineer. So don't think that just because there's no permanency, there's no money. No, your money is an impermanent work environment. But because that's the adventure. You have to feed the 8th house, otherwise 8th house is going to forcefully eat itself. And you're not going to like it. Nobody's going to like it. Okay. Also with 8th Lord in the 10th house, you will see father's family would have gone through tremendous amount of ups and downs in their finances and money. Not father himself, but father's family. Father's side of family. Father's side of family may have moved many times. Perhaps the grandfather had positions that changed a lot. On the other hand, mother's married life, meaning life with your father, would always go through its tumultuous ups and downs. Like you would have heard them arguing from the childhood. Then normal, then fighting, then normal, then fighting. Okay, so it gives that instability within the house of mother, but also it is that instability that also would spark the romance between the two. Like they cannot leave each other. Now we see 8th Lord in the 11th house. So 8th Lord is in the 11th house. So this is a placement where a person needs to settle their desires. Why? Because they have the most unsettled desire, the most unsettled desire for themselves. Okay? Why? What am I saying here? Is that their desires are never constant. Keeps changing. Why? Because each desire is going through a test. And when it goes through a test, they don't want it. And then something else happens. So when you desire for something, okay, your desire should stick to one thing. Because 8th Lord is going and feeding itself in the 11th house, saying, oh, you have this desire, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this other desire. Now I'm going to bring this other desire up and down. And so the best thing to do is usually with 8th Lord in the 11th house, have no desire, have no expectations. Let the mystery of life give you what it needs to. Meaning literally you should not have like these goals that one day I want to have this multi-millions and I want to have this amount of property and this amount of, just work on your daily work. That's it. Whatever is in front of you now, whatever needs to be achieved, that's it. And this is also shows with 8th Lord in the 11th house. Either the elder sibling, okay, will have tremendous interest in speculation, Or if their life is not conducive with the 8th house, if they're not aligned with the 8th house, maybe they're not, maybe they have a different karma. But because of your chart, it shows if it's not aligned with the 8th house, their life is nothing but ups and downs. They're also very changeable personality. One minute they want that, the next minute they want something else. This also shows in-laws will have property. In-laws will have strong settlement of property in life. This also shows your children will have multiple properties. And 8th Lord in the 11th shows never ever rely on your social circles. Never ever rely on your network circles. Why? Because your life isn't about keeping the same social circles at one point. They'll always come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. And right when you need them the most, they may not be there. God will be there, but they may not be there. Because this is what you have to experience, is whoever comes in contact with you that you know professionally, you will not be able to rely on them fully at all. And the people that you think that, oh my God, I know these 10 people, suddenly their number doesn't work. Suddenly they're no longer responding to you. They move out of country, go somewhere. So the thing is, have social circles, have social life, just don't rely on them. Just don't expect, again, the desire. Do not expect or desire something from such a place. Because that's the lesson that has to be learned here, that you cannot get what you desire. I'll give you something, we'll give you something, but not what you're expecting. Right? So when you don't expect something and you get something, you're like, hey, great. But if you're like, I want this and it has to be this color, it has to be this way, it has to be this, and yet you get this, now it's like, oh my God, that desire didn't come true. And then now it's settled in your karmic cells for next life for it to fulfill at some point. So when you don't have expectations of the 11th, you might actually make friends with Elon Musk because you had no expectations. That's what the 8th Lord in the 11th will do. Same way 8th Lord is in the 12th. So 8th Lord is in the 12th house, right? Please don't try to become a miser. Do not try to become stingy. Why? Because this is the placement of constant unexpected expenses. Number one. Which means you want to align yourself, right? Because 8th Lord is coming to the 12th house for feeding. So what do? Always give people surprise gifts. Number one, in your family. Number two, always give unexpected donations to people or organizations. Number three, constantly keep your money in the market. So I don't care if you're making $15, $20 an hour. Okay? You're working at McDonald's, making $15 an hour. You're making $600, $700 a week. I'm not telling you to put thousands of dollars into a market. $50. Okay, fine. $30. Like especially if you go on Robinhood, you can buy fractions of stocks. $50 a week. $40 a week. Put something in. $30 a week. Put something in. With 8th Lord in the 12th house, what are you doing? You are giving the 8th house the feeding that, hey, look, I have unexpected investments that are going up and down constantly. I am unexpectedly also giving donations randomly, which you should. And get people gifts. Spend money somewhere. Okay? So, for example, a multimillionaire will give their girlfriend a Rolex watch. Okay? They'll spend $20,000 in a Rolex watch, $40,000 on a Rolex watch. You, wherever level you're at, maybe you can just go buy a single rose and give it to your girlfriend. You spent that money and you gave an unexpected gift. Because then what happens is the 8th house begins to develop the 12th house. So when all these three things are happening, what is one thing that is going to gain? Your investments. 8th house says, oh, let me suddenly do something here. Now, of course, you don't have to be extremely greedy and naive that, oh, I'm going to put all the savings in this crypto and then I'm going to be 100x. Then that's on you. 8th house, as long as you're putting money in the market, that if you were to lose that amount of money, it's not going to do anything to you. And then you see what the unexpectations of the 8th house is doing. It is going to do something better for you. 8th lord's in the 12th house, right? In order for you to learn the hidden truth of this life, hidden truth of the world, hidden truth about who you are, you're going to have to retreat into isolation. You want to learn Jyotish in isolation. You want to learn Tantra in isolation. While somebody's in the middle of Pune or Mumbai, right next to the Ambani house where all the people are and security is, and that's where you go to yoga center to learn your Tantra. No, that's not going to work for you. For you, you're actually going to have to go to Rishikesh. You have to go far away from the known to the point of an exit to understand these things. And the thing is, with 8th lord in the 12th house, you will find that. You will find that particular ability to find yourself in situations like in a monastery. Finding somebody who, now you found some monk in a monastery who actually knows astrology, knows that you have an interest in astrology, and they just tell you something. Hey, do you know sign of Gemini becomes active at 32? You're like, wow. Because it does. It becomes active at 32. Okay. Which I'll teach this next year. But that's what happens with the 8th lord in the 12th house. And also you will see, usually for a person, bed pleasures, okay, sleep and pleasures can give unexpected results. Like real world example. You had a one night stand with somebody and you realized that this person is actually a personal assistant to Ambani or Elon Musk. Who knew? And now you make a great connection with them. They like you, you like them. And somehow, some way, they find out you're an engineer and you've been working on this and this. And like, there's an opening at SpaceX if you want to come by. Sure. So guess what happened? That bed pleasure unexpectedly gave something to you. Okay. Same way we can look at 8th lord in the ascendant. So 8th lord's in the ascendant, right? The first thing that you will see, if you deal with tremendous amount of unexpected adventures in your life. Unexpected adventures simply means something that you weren't expecting happens. Something that you didn't know that was there is there. Right? Because 8th house is the adventure house. Like I said. So when you go on an adventure simply means you don't know where you're going, what you're going to meet, who you're going to see, what you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep. What environment is it? What the weather is there? How the people are there? What the language is there? You don't know nothing. This is the adventure. So when 8th lord is in the ascendant, which is the beginning of the life, it shows that especially if a person is, because you will deal with these surprises in life, sudden unexpected things in life. Now, if the 8th lord in the ascendant is not in the best shape, which easily you can find out if you were to learn Nadi. If you learned Nadi from me, Nandi Nadi, on my Magha Vedic Astrology Academy, you'll get it. Because if it's in a bad shape, go to foreign lands. This is that one place. Go far away from where you were born, far away from you where you have existed. And don't look back. So for example, you're born in India, go to US, go to Europe, go somewhere, settle. Because this is where now you're flipping the script. Okay, there's something called not just the astrocartography chart, but the longitude chart. In the longitude chart, what happens is based on the time that you were born, everything, just change the location of the country and see what the planets were. So that changes that result. But eighth lord in the ascendant can actually show the person, even where they were born, wherever they are settled, they're experiencing just new things. Like this person can actually just want change in their life. They don't want to settle in a relationship. They don't want to settle in their career. They don't want to settle in their education. They want to keep doing things, keep learning things, because this is who they have embraced the eighth house. They're like, they don't have to know astrology. Okay, they shouldn't be even having interest in astrology. But what this shows is, I'm not saying they shouldn't or may not have it. I'm just saying if they don't, they still will prefer. They're like, my life is an adventure. I want change. I get bored with things too quickly. Because once they settle into a routine for a long time, this is now where the eighth house begins to feed itself and erode the ascendant. So instead of feeling the adventure, you feel like you're dealing with unexpected things in life that you don't want. Eighth lord in the eighth ascendant, the person loves to expose secrets, loves to expose hidden things, loves to expose, information to the others. These are those investigative journalists. Because the eighth house is coming to the ascendant, they always tend to get information which is hidden. They always tend to find things which are interesting. Like this is the person, eighth lord in the ascendant. If this person was to go on Joe Rogan, they'll have many things to tell. They'll have many stories to tell to Rogan. Because their life has experience naturally, like they just go, let's say they were going to somebody's wedding. They were supposed to be there for an hour, 2 hours, then they're going to leave. And suddenly they find somebody there who worked in the CIA and saw alien crafts and this and that. And they get to learn that story. Like, whoa, really? Wow. Oh my God. This becomes the pattern of life with the eighth lord and the ascendant. But the main thing is be adventurous. Number two, if you're dealing with those unexpected events that you don't want, then you're going to have to move. Move to a faraway place, move to a foreign lands. Now the eighth lord is in the second house. Eighth lord is in the second house. So obviously this is one of those placements of a person to attain inheritance. Unexpected wealth, unexpected money. One naturally will be able to earn money through things connected with the eighth house. Research, occult, mysticism, insurance, wills and estates, treasury, human resources, managing people's wealth. And especially eighth lords in the ascendant. Eighth lords in the second house. After your birth, family had to move. Whether it was in the 1 year or 2 year period, family would move to somewhere else. Whether most likely it can move to at least 300 to 400 miles away from where you were born, or you can move to a foreign place, foreign lands. Okay, with this particular position. Eighth lord in the second house. Always keep your money in an invested places. Don't try to always just hoard and store money. Oh, I have bank money in the bank, money in this. Because what happens is, if you see you're not aligned with your eighth lord in the second house. Eighth house says adventure. Eighth house says, I want to experience adventure. Now I'm coming to the second house to feed with my adventure. So here you are trying to store something and have a steady wealth, money. Eighth lord in the second house says, well, I'm feeding. Here, I'm going to take this money. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to take money. Suddenly, unexpectedly, a person loses money. But how do you align? This is the biggest remedy. You don't need to wear any gemstones. You don't need to go to and break a coconut somewhere. No, you should always keep your money in invested places, especially when you're making serious money. Not when you're living paycheck to paycheck. That is definitely doing its part. But let's say, for example, you own 2 properties, you have a career, you have a title. So instead of just storing money, have money somewhere in assets, like especially markets, 401k plan or IRA, Roth IRA, ETFs, anything where the money is naturally on a daily basis is doing this. Up and down, up and down, up and down. So when the money is going up and down, 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 okay, it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. Your 8th house will not make you feel like, oh, things are happening unexpectedly in my life and suddenly in my life. Because you're naturally aligned with that particular part. Your money is going up one day. Let's say you got 200,000 in the market. So one day it's down to 180. Then within 2 months is down to is up to 220. Then it's back down to 210. Then it's up to 230. It's up and down. So eighth house is saying, okay, I'm here to feed, but I'm kind of full because I'm already fed. I feel like I'm not hungry. But eighth lord in the second house also shows one likes to collect things that are very mysterious in nature, very unorthodox in nature. Like sometimes a person likes to collect haunted items. They'll go and like there's this guy who has a reality show in US regarding visiting haunted places. He is a very recognizable person, wears like these thick black glasses and spiky hair. He'll always purchase something. So eighth lord in the second house shows one likes to collect something which is very unorthodox, unexpected, with unexpected result or energy. You don't know what you're getting. And this is why also eighth lord in the second house, a person loves being an entrepreneur, wants to invest in things that they don't know what to expect from it, but they feel like, okay, there's something there. There's something big there. And especially with the eighth lord in the second house, you will see whenever this person, whenever their speech pattern will always be halfway, and half of it will be mysterious. It's like if somebody's supposed to say that if you go to Nevada and in this particular area, you will find this bridge, and under the bridge, there's a military base where you'll find these 3 alien crafts. Or as a military place with the 3 alien crafts. They'll be like, for them, it'll be like in a conversation. If you go to Nevada, and there's 3 alien spacecrafts there. Set a bridge. Okay. But it's there. I've seen it. Where's the bridge? It's hard to tell. I don't know. I just went there somehow. I can't relocate it anymore. I don't know. They want to keep half of what they're saying to a mystery. Why? Because that mystery now begins to attract others. See, mystery is what attracts people to someone. So here, what attracts them is that mystery in speech. Sometimes with eighth lord in the second house, they will have some kind of a speech impediment disorder, or they will have some form of trouble speaking early in life. But usually such people like to speak about secrets. Like especially if you will see, fifth lord and eighth lord are together in the second house. Such person cannot digest secrets. You tell them a secret, they will tell people. Okay, because fifth house is digestion. That's where you digest something, but it's not being digested, it's coming back out. And if it's the eighth lord, it's the eighth house is a secret. So they will say the secrets. And then eighth lord is in the third house. So eighth lord is in the third house. The first thing it shows that you're not in control. Well, you're not in control if you're going to have younger siblings or not. And neither if you have younger siblings, you're not in control if your relationship with them is going to be good or not. It's going to be surprise. Like 1 month, it's really bad. And no matter what you did, nothing happened. And yet, even when you then became mean, they suddenly came back and wanted to be friends with you again. It's like, wait, when I was doing all these nice things, you didn't want to talk to me. And now that I have blocked your number, now you're finding ways to connect with me and talk to me. I know I'm giving like an extreme example, but that's what it'll do. Your relationship with the friends will be like that. Suddenly, you have these friends in your life. And suddenly, poof, they're gone. Why? Because you don't have control over that. The other thing, because third house is the communication. Third house is the media communication. See, second house is how you speak. Third house is the information that you're getting and receiving and giving. Which is why third house represents when you talk to other people outside of your own circle, when you go into media, especially nowadays, what? Social media, internet. TV is an old thing now. Neighbors, friends. So you will see such a person loves to share secret informations with other people. When they learn some secret, they like to share with people. When eighth lord's in the third house, a person can transform people's lives with their words, with their speech. not even speech, their communication style. Okay. Because 8th house is transformation, 8th house is change. And when they speak, they can change a person's life. They can flip a person upside down. So this is why when 8th Lord in the 3rd house, such people naturally become great life coach, business coach, motivational coach. 8th Lord is in the 3rd house. This person will have the ability of turning dust into gold. Because 3rd house is effort. 3rd house is pressure. 8th house is things which are buried underground, right? So when 8th house related things begin to get pressure, this is actually one of the Lal Kitab placements meaning as well. 8th Lord in the 3rd house, dust turns into gold. Because the 8th house element is in such pressure in the 3rd house. Why? Because it's 8th from the 8th. It is the Bhavat Bhavam of the 8th house. It is the biggest source of transformation and change. And so you will see, if you want change in your life, okay, the moment this person starts writing, when you want transformation, start writing what the change you want to be, what the change you have. It begins to happen. When you begin to speak to people about transforming their life, changing their life, your own life begins to change. 8th Lord in the 3rd house. Usually such people will always either tend to lose communication devices, or such people will tend to even lose small valuables time to time. Like, for example, they'll lose, like 8th Lord in the 3rd house, you can lose something related to, let's say, like wedding rings. You'll buy a lot of wedding rings. Because 8th house is the gain of the marriage, and gain of the marriage is symbolized by a ring, right? And so when 8th Lord goes into the 3rd, which is 8th from the 8th, you will always tend to lose things which are given through by the spouse, or something may be connected with the marriage. 8th Lord is in the 3rd house. Okay? Such people will always make the most toughest and the best effort in the hardest of times. It's when time is hard, they get the biggest boost and motivation. Like, oh, this is happening, I'm going to come out of this watch. And the other thing, relationship with the neighbors will always be unexpected. It can be unexpectedly good and unexpectedly bad. No matter, even if you were nice to them, suddenly they just are going to be mean and rude to you. Okay, so that's what 8th Lord in the 3rd house does. Now let's talk about 8th Lord is in the 4th house. And also actually 8th Lord in the 3rd house. Your in-laws' life will be full of ups and downs. Father-in-law. Father-in-law's life would have seen a major transformation or change in life as well. Okay. But let's talk about 8th Lord in the 4th house. So 8th Lord is in the 4th house. So obviously it shows that one will not find themselves settled in their birth city, same home that they grew up in. Because if you see, 4th house is where we love our comfort, where we feel like we're just in peace. No matter how bad situation is at work, you know, when you're home in a roof, you just feel that calmness, security. Here, 8th Lord said that I'm bringing my adventure into the 4th house. Okay, so I will not, either I forcefully feed myself into the 4th house, or you have to feed me. That means, number one, if you are settled where you were born, I will just bring these unexpected things that you will not enjoy. So you have to move away from where you were to a different city, different state. The further you are, the better. 8th Lord in the 4th house. Usually, actually, I've seen charts of nomads. I'm not saying you're going to be a nomad, but unless a dasha, certain dasha comes in, a person will naturally in that dasha will like to move. Like, for example, 8th Lord Moon is in the 4th house. Okay. That means the person wants change. But regardless, 8th Lord in the 4th house says that this person needs to have adventure. You must constantly, well, first of all, it'll naturally make a person constantly move a lot. Especially if it's 8th Lord in the 4th house is a movable sign, one moves a lot. But at the same time, such a person always needs to travel, constantly travel, to keep that happiness and comfort flowing in their life. Meaning a person should, at least in a year, you don't need to go travel far away to a different country, spend a lot of money. Go take long road trips. You're in a country, let's say you are in New Delhi. From New Delhi, India, you go to Rishikesh, go to Chennai, go to Nepal, go to Bangalore. On the road, do a road trip. The more frequently you do that, because see, the 8th house thing says, I'm going up like the wave, I'm coming down like the wave, I'm going up like the wave. So here you are, home, home, home. Then you're traveling, traveling, traveling. You're home, home, home. You're traveling, traveling, traveling. You're keeping things, moving. And especially 8th Lord in the 4th house, usually a person will always love to shift their furniture time to time. Especially when there's a 90-degree hit of a planet, which means from the second house, when a planet transits the second house, any planet, and you have 8th Lord in the 4th house, you will see somehow, according to that planet, you will arrange that furniture. Okay, you'll choose certain direction to change that, because that becomes the motivation of the transiting planet. Because it's then also finding its motivation with the 8th Lord in the 4th house. 8th Lord in the 4th house, we also see mother has to deal with, again, the adventures like the 8th Lord in the 9th house. Mother life has to be that unexpected life. Mother life, the more, like, she'll deal with so many unexpected things. Like she will be aware of everything. She will become like a rock. No matter what happens, I've dealt with this. I've gone through this. But she will go through those. First, it's like that moist, piece of mud. And by going through all of these ups and downs, it becomes into a rock. So now if ups and downs comes, rock is just sitting there. So over time, mother gets very hard with dealing with all the things. She becomes very tough about dealing with all kinds of issues. Now, the relationship with the mother may not be affected with you. For that, we have to see the moon. But what it shows in her life itself, she herself personally deals with these surprises and adventures, we call. You can't even call it ups and downs. It's just surprise adventures. Sometimes we like those adventures, sometimes we don't. Now, 8th Lord is in the 5th house. So 8th Lord is in the 5th house. So obviously, what does this show? First of all, it naturally brings new changes, sudden changes in person's educations. Person's learning, especially even with the 4th house, like 8th Lord in the 4th house and 5th house, one way or the other, it suddenly changes the mode of education. One suddenly wants to go from one major to the other, and especially 8th Lord in the 5th. Education or intelligence of a person does really well when it has something to do with discovering something, dealing with research, analysis, extrapolating things, inventing things. And 8th Lord in the 5th house is actually one of those placement of people who naturally want to turn occult and mysticism into their creative process. Because 5th house is what? 5th house is creativity. 5th house is children. 5th house is romance. Something that you just, what romance is? Romance isn't just in relationship. Romance is about anything connected with that makes you feel ebullient. Something that makes you feel, in just a fun, loving mood. So whenever this person with 8th Lord, going into the 5th, whenever this person deals with hidden mysteries, They feel they're learning something. That becomes their interest. Like a lot of people who may have interest towards paranormal things. Those things become active. Like they have great interest in learning those things. And also, eighth lord in the fifth house, pregnancy happens unexpectedly. Like you weren't hoping or you weren't even thinking that you were going to get pregnant, and suddenly, boom, pregnancy happens. Whether it's a male or female chart doesn't matter, because in a male chart, suddenly now you're on your way of becoming a father. In a female chart, you're on your way to becoming a mother. And especially because eighth lord's in the fifth house, birth of a child brings in that change and transformation that you look for. Okay, so whenever children are born, suddenly life goes from here to like there. Okay, and then because fifth house is intelligence, people like see your intelligence will obviously be affected by the planet that is sitting in the fifth. Like if it's a moon, then it'll be the mother that will always kind of impact your intelligence. If it's sun, father will impact your intelligence. But because it's the eighth lord in the fifth house, besides the people that is represented by the planet, okay, is the secret information that somebody shares that always will stick into your consciousness. Like I remember back when I was 9 years old, this person told me this secret and this information, and yes, I understand it, I know it. So secrecy, always somehow infuses into your intelligence, subconsciously sometimes. You can't even like realize how it impacted you, but it impacted you. Eighth lord in the fifth house. Such people love getting interested in stock market, sports betting, gambling, crypto. The intelligence is working where things are just going up and down, up and down. They love going into those things. Any kind of a challenging game, especially board games and brain games, when there's a challenge, because eighth house is challenge. So those things happen. Eighth house also, represents rebirth of things. Okay. So you will see like a person always finds their rebirth when they learn something, when they take some kind of a new lesson, when they take some kind of a new course, they feel this rebirth within them. Okay. So in that case, now we move to eighth lord in the sixth house. So eighth lord is in the sixth house. And this is a very beneficial position in certain areas, for sure. Because here, what is it doing? Is bringing tremendous amount of fluctuation for your enemies, competition, rivals. Your obstacles actually find themselves in trouble. So you can see a person can actually steer through obstacles and enemy, no matter who comes after this person. They'll at the end win the battle. And this is why in Parashri side of astrology, this is known as Virpreet Raj Yoga, meaning by facing obstacles and enemies in front of you, suddenly there's a transformation, suddenly there's a change, suddenly there's a rise in your life. But on the other hand, you will also see in-laws will have tremendous amount of health issues. Somebody in spouse's family will always have like some kind of a chronic health issue in life. It also shows your maternal aunts and uncles' life has been full of changes, full of adventures, full of either ups and downs, depending upon how they're handling their life. See, it's not because your chart is doing this to them. Otherwise, there's no point in looking at one chart. You have to look at the chart of the entire clan to predict for one person. What it shows, though, that your chart shows that their time is changing, with your eighth lord being in the sixth house. That right after your birth, you would have seen major dramatic changes in your aunts and uncles' life. Maybe, aunts and uncles themselves dealt with some health issue. accidents, or they suddenly move to a foreign place. Depends on how the planet is. It's not like these things are happening one by one. No, it's the planet that is going to show that particular part. And then eighth lord in the sixth house. Tremendous obstacles comes in though when this person tries to do research. Like you will find research, or if let's say someone tries to be an astrologer, a Jyotish, they find obstacles in trying to get that hurdle, getting out of that obstacles. Like this person can find tremendous amount of competition, enemy in the whatever research based, occultic based work that they may do. And of course, the whole chart will show us if perhaps this person can do things related to the eighth house as their daily work, but perhaps they should move to a foreign place. Perhaps they should move near water. Perhaps they should move on a place of heights with mountains. Perhaps they should move into a place which has a vast plain in the front. It all depends. Maybe they need to move to the eastern hemisphere. Maybe they have to move to the western hemisphere. Now we will do eighth lord in the seventh house. Seventh lord or eighth lord is in the seventh house. So obviously eighth lord is in the seventh house. Naturally, in relationships, marriage, a person deals with tremendous amount of changes, surprises, adventures. See, I don't call it like bad up and down, because it's simply eighth house is something new. Eighth house is something undiscovered. Eighth house is an adventure. See, when you go on an adventure is about seeing a completely new place, new weather, new people, new language, new food, new environment, new wild animals. You're dealing with everything new because your desire is to see life and become infectious with that life. So now that life force of adventure is in the seventh house. And of course, on a common basis, a person just feels that frustration that I want steadiness. Everybody wants stability in the marriage, right? And this is that one person that if they're not aligned with the eighth lord in the seventh house, and if they seek stability, they will not find stability. That's not the constitution of your chart. So stop seeing or stop wearing gemstones, doing this remedy, that remedy. Oh, I gotta stabilize my marriage. No, the remedy is already there in front of you. You know what the remedy is? Your marriage cannot be common. Your marriage cannot be simple, plain. It must be unorthodox for it to thrive. It must be full of surprises, must be full of changes, must be full of adventures. So if you think that, okay, I got married, now it's time to go to work, daily routines is here, perfect. I'm working, she's working, let's have kids. No, you can't do that. If you want, because you can surely do whatever you want, but just don't complain that marriage is going bad. Because you need, so one thing you should always do with a seventh lord in the eighth house, give time to time surprises. This has to become a routine. Once or twice a month, surprising your spouse with something. Small gift, small rose, reservation at a restaurant. And then you must also surprise your spouse with travel plans. Hey, we're off the next 3 days, right? Guess what? We're going to travel. We're going to go here. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. If there's no changes, and especially the marriage has to be an adventure. Like, I can give you 20 different ways it can be an adventure, but that's mine. You have to find yours. Okay. But the ups and downs that the marriage deals with, the surprises that marriage deals with, the adventure, see, it's not ups and downs. We think it's ups and downs. It's just an adventure. It's like, hey, here's something new. So marriage has to be in a way where there's just new things are popping up. You guys, like for example, this would be a great marriage with seventh lord in the eighth house if two people were, let's say, National Geographic photographers. That means they're going out on adventure, traveling, and they have this work. The wife is in Uganda. The husband is going to Kenya. Then they have to go together to, Nepal and Himalayas. There's like unexpected work. Okay. Unless the spouse has this. Spouse, you find a spouse who has to just travel at any given moment. Spouse is a firefighter, spouse is a police officer, right? Spouse is a soldier, army. There's these changes and surprises, then things are just balanced. Then you live your regular life. Why? Because then it becomes your regular life. You're working, but your spouse is, what do you call, they're posted at the border of India and Pakistan. They're posted at the border of, Texas. And people will know, hey, it's a normal life. Yeah, your spouse is in military and this, great. So now that surprise element is now making things regular and common. Otherwise, once you try to settle in a normal cocoon, good luck. That ain't happening. I don't care. You can do whatever vastu you want. You can do whatever, wearing this gemstone, that's gemstone. No, because the best remedy is the one that the Lord and the planet is providing. That's it. That's it. Okay. So anyway, guys, this is my analysis of 8th Lord through houses. Remember, if you need to know anything about your chart, my consultations, check out the links here, kairosastrology.com. Otherwise, we'll see you with the unique video on AI and astrology soon. Bye-bye.